In the first 5 today, I just want to hit 2 points about the ongoing assessment in America of what happened in election 2020. We have covered so many of the stories related to voter fraud, alleged dead people voting, numbers of votes located much later, all sorts of stories like that. But I want to hit on the big picture issue that we've been discussing in depth, what you have heard, the now very, very famous stories related to election, not voter fraud, but election fraud, the manipulation of electronic manipulation of voting data, tabulation software inside computers. This is what we've heard Sidney Powell describing and saying on national television. President Trump won this election a landslide. Votes were flipped. She has been very explicit, saying not only that she's seen it, but she's saying, I can prove it, I will show you. Many Americans are very concerned, very alarmed. Of course, you have the media trying to steamroll and pretend the election's over. Everyone's going to be talking about which person President-elect Biden should choose for some cabinet post. But people, again, this election is not even close to over, and getting it right on this issue of whether or not this massive election fraud occurred is vital to America, not just in this election, but moving forward, whether we can ever trust our election system again. I'm going to hit some very quick stories about this. Number one, you may know the term Smartmatic. That is the system that is in question here. And you've heard Sidney Powell mentioning that this actually was developed to permit and enable vote fraud. A very quick clip to play for you. This is a gentleman in Venezuela talking about the use of this system in Venezuela in their elections there. And you may remember Sidney Powell mentioned that this was used to corrupt and steal the election in Venezuela. But let me have this gentleman from Venezuela tell you the story.
Smartmatic has provided election technology and support services in Venezuela since 2004. Even in moments of deep political conflict and division, we have been satisfied that the voting process and the count has been completely accurate. It is therefore with the deepest regret that we have to report that the turnout numbers on Sunday, 30th of July for the Constituent Assembly in Venezuela were tampered with. Based on the robustness of our system, we know without any doubt that the turnout of the recent election for a National Constituent Assembly was manipulated.
So there you have it. This gentleman was talking about exactly the system in question in America today. He's saying, yes, that's exactly what happened in Venezuela. Number two, quick clip. When the New York Times was more invested in trying to question the use of electronic voting data, they ran this. I want to have Matt the Wonderful play a video for you in a moment. They ran this opinion piece explaining how very simple it is to cheat electronic voting machines. This is video number 2.
I'm here to tell you that the electronic voting machines Americans got to solve the problem of voting integrity, they turned out to be an awful idea.
One vote for McCain.
That's because people like me can hack them all too easily. I'm a computer scientist who has hacked a lot of electronic voting machines. I even turned one machine into a video game console. Imagine what the Russians and North Koreans can do. I've even gone to Congress to raise the alarm. Our highly computerized election infrastructure is vulnerable to sabotage and even to cyber attacks that could change votes.
Okay, that's my second point today. The reason I'm doing this my first five today is I want to make very clear, this is not just a few extreme right-wing people who are questioning whether or not somehow some hacking occurred. If you watch this show regularly, you know we've had Russ Ramsland on the show numerous times laying out what his organization discovered. We're now watching Sidney Powell telling America at a national level, this is what happened. There was electronic manipulation of the voter tabulation software and votes were switched. I want to hit 2 more quick points and wrap up the first 5. One is that even today in 2020, while all Democrats are trying to pretend that electronic voting is completely safe and no one should be worried, there was actually a letter written in March of 2019, signed onto by Senator Amy Klobuchar, she who ran for president, as well as actually, I'm not sure, 3 other senators, and I believe one of them was Elizabeth Warren, but they wrote a letter. It was Elizabeth Warren. Okay, my friend here is nodding along. Wrote a letter to the manufacturers of the vote counting hardware and software, including Dominion Voting Systems, the system in question now, protesting your companies provide voting machines and software used by 92% of eligible voting population in the U.S. The integrity of our elections remains under serious threat. So even Democrats, as recently as March of 2019, acknowledging that electronic voting machines are extremely vulnerable to hacking. Last point, and wrapping up the first 5, is this. We have gone over many, many examples of anomalies, oddities coming out of this election cycle. How odd it would be that, for example, the vast majority of Americans continued. They put more Republicans in the U.S. Congress. Incumbent Democrats lost their seats. No incumbent Republicans lost their seats. The anomaly of people voting Republican, but somehow 80 million voted for Biden. But another anomaly just came to my attention I want to share. And just, this is for you, pass along to your friends who have no doubt about this election and are questioning whether we should be reviewing the election results. There are counties in America, 19 counties in this United States of America, which are considered by election experts bellwether counties, meaning pretty much every election cycle, these 19 counties, bellwether counties, which probably just means they are made up of a truly representative sample of America, but 19 bellwether counties that always correctly choose the president, that always go for the one who wins, who always do. Last time one county was wrong was in the Reagan election in 1980. Of those 19 bellwether counties, who always get it right, and whatever they come out with is what actually happened in the election cycle. If I were speaking in person, I'd say, so guess how many of those went for Trump out of the 19 bellwether counties in America? And that number would be 18. 18 of the 19 bellwether counties in America went for Trump. Only 1 went for Biden. But the other thing that was just an interesting anomaly, that the average of the bellwether counties, the average number by percentage by which Trump won was like 15%. The one county that went for Biden was in single digits, very small, 3 or 4, so a 3-point margin. So wrapping up the first 5 today, I want to say this. It matters to get the election results right. It matters if our voting machines are hackable. It matters if votes were changed. All that matters at the end of the day is what is true about election 2020, and that is the mission that Sidney Powell is on, that America is on, that President Trump is on, and every American of any political background should want exactly that, the truth of election 2020. And that, my very fine friends, is today's first 5.